What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the 50-40-90 Club. Today, we're going to be talking about the crazy free agency period that has been in the NBA. Not so much with the free agency part, but with trades going galore and some crazy ones at that. But there are some free agents that have, of course, made their names as far as changing teams. So we'll be talking about that. We will be talking about a situation that has been present with one specific player, and has been present for about a year now, but is starting to become more of a news story. I think you guys know who we're kind of talking about to a degree. If not, stay tuned. And then at the end, we will be talking about some of the young players in the NBA and how well that they have materialized, at least in the summer league or even outside of that, just to talk about the future of the NBA. But we are excited. We have a great episode for you guys today. Owen, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to jump right into it, discuss all of the numerous. I think we've had pretty much like an uncountable number of changes since the last
Mhm.
episode. I think that was before Giannis. So yeah, we'll see. We'll just talk about everything, I guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that we could start off. Let's start off with Giannis.
Yeah, sure.
Um, that trade, I mean, I
Yep.
think it happened the Monday after we recorded our first episode. Um, I remember talking to Owen as soon. I mean, I was not getting the update as quickly as he was for some reason. But when I saw the trade, I was kind of shocked, to be honest with you. I mean, Giannis obviously being a top five player in the league, you think that you're gonna get this blockbuster trade that's gonna happen in the way that you got with Paul George 8 years ago or something like that. And granted, there have been some issues with the Bucks. There have been some concerns as far as trade value, leverage, whatnot that kind of play a part in that. Um, but the actual trade itself, I personally was of the belief that, I mean, the Heat, I think, nailed it out of the park. They wanted to get a guy who they've been in mediocrity over the last few years. They want to get a guy who can basically step up and take that role that Jimmy Butler had prior to him leaving and make them back into being a potential NBA playoff contender as soon as they built. But they also did lose a few depth pieces. I think that kind of is going to hurt them in the short term, especially. But the big thing is they didn't give up too many picks. And from that standpoint, I do think this is an absolute win for the Miami Heat. And I think that the Bucks, they got some great players back for sure. Tyler Hero's one. Kasper Siakam is another one. Or sorry, not Kasper Siakam. Sorry, I'm talking about the Heat here. Um, but they also got. Let me look at this real quick. They got what's it called? Jaime Jaquez, and they got Kasper Siakam. So I mean, they got some great prospects for sure. The big question is how much of that was Eric Spoelstra and his coaching ability, and how much of that is the fact that they're really talented players. Um, but the big question I have is how well is this Bucks team going to be able to do without the picks that I thought they needed to get, especially getting a guy like Giannis off their team. You need to get a lot of picks if you're going to go into a full rebuild like the Bucks did. But I know Owen had a different opinion than me.
I'm gonna
Uh,
interrupt you there real quick about the
well,
picks
I was
because
fun. Yeah, go ahead.
Milwaukee got three first rounders and then what a pick swap in the second round. So would you have expected like five plus for
Yeah,
Giannis?
for
Like
sure. I would have
for
expected.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the
I mean
package.
that
Go ahead.
I guess in the modern like NBA, yes, but I don't think that the Heat are in as good of a position as you might seem. And you seem to think that obviously Milwaukee has to do their rebuild, but you think the Heat are this is a better long term. I was under the impression that this trade is more of a short term, like win now Heat team because they lost some of their depth and then they get Giannis, which is gonna make them better than they were because I think they'd be stuck in play in hell if they didn't go through with this trade. And now they could probably have a shot at a six. Like I'll go higher than six. I'll
Mhm.
say up to like a third seed in the East, playoff contention, etc. But Giannis is going to age pretty soon, especially with his pretty physical play style. Like even last season with the injuries, etc., we don't know if he's going to continually be available. He could only have one or two good seasons left. And although they didn't give up a ridiculous amount of picks, like they gave up a fair amount of depth. So I don't think this is as much of a slam dunk sort of trade for the Heat, but uh like what
I
do you
agree. I don't
think?
think it
Yeah.
is a slam dunk trade. Obviously, the Heat gave up a lot of players, and you look at their team right now, it's pretty much just Giannis and Bam Adebayo. But when I say it's like long term, I don't mean from the standpoint of the same way as the Bucks. Obviously, their long term plan is you're talking like 8 years from now when they're actually going to be good, especially with when the picks are, which are, if I remember correctly, 2030 and 2031. Um, but with the Miami Heat, their long-term window, we're talking about probably 4 years that they got with Giannis. I don't think that they contend if we're just talking about what they've done so far, because like I said, their roster is just Bam and Giannis right now, which is
Yeah.
good enough to maybe contend for a playoff spot. But I don't think it's enough to compete with the likes of the Knicks and the Sixers and the Raptors, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Pistons, etc. Um, so I just don't. I think the Heat are still years or two away, especially if they're not making win now moves other than Giannis, from them truly being a championship contender. The only thing that Giannis provides is at the very least you're talking about a guy who can take your team from being constantly in the play-in to being, a 7-6 seed who can maybe get a one or two playoff upsets and take you to a run to the conference finals. And, we've seen how that's worked with the Miami Heat as far as potentially making deep finals runs when they shouldn't have in the past. But yeah, I do agree it's not like a slam dunk by itself. With the Bucks, I think the bigger thing is just like I said, I mean, anytime you trade a top 5 player in the game, especially when you're a small market team like the Bucks, I just feel like you got to get as many picks as you possibly can in order to be able to give yourself the best shot at winning down the line. Because if these players just don't work out, and I mean, I like Braden Burries. I like who's this other guy that they drafted? Um, hold up, let me look this up. I mean, I like Braden Burries, and I like the other guy that they drafted too. Give me a sec.
And they got Nate Ament.
Yeah, thank you, Native Man. I mean,
Yeah.
Native Man, I have my issues with him, but I think that with this Bucks team, he's a good fit, right? And he's a good forward kind of role. But he's not Giannis. And the question is, how well are these guys going to fit on the team? From the Braden Burry standpoint, with how many guards they have, and in Nate Immense case, my question is as far as how high his ceiling is, and I just don't know if that's going to be enough for this team to contend down the line, right? So you got to get extra picks. You got to get a 28 pick, a 2020, future as far as like 2035 pick. As far as being able to say, okay, if I'm the Bucks, I want to be able to say that okay, some of these picks might work, some of these picks don't, and then if they don't work, I could just do what the Thunder did and then have another pick down the line that becomes a Day Mara or Bennett Sturts that can potentially fill in a role that I was missing on my team. Um, but then again, I look at most of the NBA right now, and I feel like most trades have been undervalued. So there's that. Maybe there's something about leverage or the fact that teams have got very unhappy with the idea of trading multiple first round picks, a la for someone like Mikal Bridges. So maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know.
That's fair. Your idea about leverage is probably true in that I thought that the Milwaukee was gonna get like before this trade went through because it was so obvious that Giannis wanted out, even if he was denying it publicly. Like it was clear that situation because it wasn't gonna work. I did think that the Milwaukee Bucks were gonna get a little bit gypped in this trade. And I think it was pretty even if they could have had one or two more picks. But like with the haul of pretty solid, we'll see how they fit in Milwaukee, obviously. But with Hero and Jaime Jaquez Jr., guys that are proven to work well there, like. They have a rebuilding team and like some semblance of a future. One thing that did surprise me, but I guess it worked out in the end, is that they traded like the Heat traded Norman Powell, which was a bit surprising,
Yeah.
correct? Because that was kind of their outside shooter. Um, so once that happened, I was surprised. But I did see that Tim Hardaway Jr. got in free agency, joined that team. So I
Well, we
guess
are
that kind
talking
of
about, I mean,
makes up for it.
we are talking about like several teams, as far as free agency goes. And the Miami Heat, like you said, they've done well with Tim Hardaway. They still have Andrew Wiggins, so
Yeah,
that does definitely helps. But the Bulls, I
yeah.
think we should talk about the Bulls because they've made some good moves this offseason. Not just with free agency, but also with the NBA draft as far as getting Dalen Swain and what's his name? Caleb Wilson. I mean, this
Yeah.
team is shaping up a lot better than they had with the previous regime. And I'm interested, especially seeing the development of guys like Noah Senge, seeing Mateusz Buzelis take another step, and the fact that they already have guys like what's his name, Noah Clowney and why am I forgetting his face? Josh Giddey. It makes me think that the Bulls sooner than later could potentially be
And Norman
back in
Powell
the.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They
So
got
now
some
when you
good
get,
players.
well, that's what I'm saying. Once you get
Yeah,
guys like Norman Powell, I mean, this Bulls team has uh, depth for days. It's just a matter of getting one or two of those guys to really step up and be that all-star, and we could end up seeing potentially the Bulls make a playoff run next year with the roster and how it's constructing if everything goes up to favor for them.
I agree. I think they could definitely have a playoff run if either Modest or Giddy reaches that all-star level. I don't think they have, obviously, they're still in the sort of rising, rebuilding this summer, but rising phase where they don't have that top 10, nowhere near a top 10 player in the world that's kind of implicitly required for like a real championship run. But
For sure.
in terms of future all-stars, like I could see Giddy and Modest obviously rising to that level. Both are quite promising players, and Caleb Wilson at 4 was a really, really good pick. Like the fact that he fell that far, I think. I haven't been I don't think his performance in the summer league was like the best player out of this draft by any means, but not going to put a lot of emphasis on that. Um, I think he has a shot to be potentially the best rookie in the draft, and they got 4 players too in this draft, so definitely they have plenty of depth. They just need that one player to sort of rise to superstar. But yeah, no disagreements with that. The Bulls could be a better team. It's just historically, like they've always every season, it kind of feels like they can make a run for it, and then
They kind
things
of
kind of
fall
fall apart.
apart
But they did really like genuinely rebuild this year. I feel like they have a more promising team
for
than
sure.
normally.
But I mean, like you said, the bar is so low for the Bulls, you'd never know as far as when they're actually gonna take that next step. So
Yeah.
that is a big issue. But there have been a lot of other free agency moves that have kind of intrigued me. I think one of the big ones I know you said you're kind of interested by was Rui Hachimura to the Clippers.
Yes. That was interesting. I mean, I feel like before he left, it was kind of obvious that his fit on the Lakers was changing, right?
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I thought he was going to be off this free agency. So going to the hometown rival is quite something. The Clippers as well have shifted a lot, but I guess we'll stick on the Lakers for now. Is their new lineup is completely shifted without Braun, and then without Rui as well. So they're going to start Luca, AR, Kessler, Quentin Grimes, and then um, what is it? It's that's the projected one, but yeah, Sandro Mamalukashvili, I think you say it,
Sandro,
um,
yeah.
something like that. But what do you think their potential is? Because I think this season, honestly, they're either gonna, I think this could be a bit more of a struggle season for them, but like I wouldn't be surprised if they are like a third seed, but I'll have them a little bit lower because I think the West is gonna be especially competitive too. Like certain teams could be harder.
The Lakers are kind of an odd team to really mention because they're either one of those teams that takes a playoff run or two as far as maybe they go to the conference title if that was with Darwin Ham or last year they upset the Rockets to go into the second round,
Yeah.
or they're just kind of like one of those teams that's really good in the regular season then just falls apart um, come playoff time, and you really don't know what the hell to make of this Lakers team. I think one thing that definitely helps is they're a lot more consistent, not having a 41-year-old LeBron being the leader on this team, and instead having a 27-year-old, 26-year-old Luka Doncic in his prime. So that certainly helps from that angle. I think what I'm more interested to see is the introduction of Walker Kessler because I know for a fact that this Lakers team was looking for that lob center. It was stated that Luka Doncic was the one who actually recommended the Lakers to go and get Walker Kessler. So from that standpoint, Just kind of seeing the fit there. Um, Obviously, you paid Austin Reeves a hell of a lot of money to stay with the Lakers. And from that standpoint, all these players really fit well within JJ Redick's scheme. I think the Lakers are just one of those teams that kind of just goes on a run and then they fall wherever they fall in the playoff spot. It's really hard to really say where they end up on the Western Conference side. I would make an argument there at the very least they're I mean, you're getting less and more. The fact that they were still able to be a true playoff team without having to contend for play-in last year without LeBron playing half the year makes me think that they're going to be fine with a more improved starting five, which is not saying much. Their starting five was not good last year, but at the very least, I think they'll be in that 3 to 6 spot as far as the team goes. That just kind of depends on, if the Timberwolves don't have injuries at the beginning of the year, the Nuggets find form, the Thunder, the Spurs, if there's another breakout team. But I think the Lakers are for sure at least safe with Luka Doncic at being healthy at least half the season to say that they're going to be um, a 3 to 6 seed. The more interesting team, though, I had talking about teams that could potentially break out is the
Sure.
Portland Trail Blazers. And the fact that they traded for John Moran. I don't know what you thought about this trade, but I'm kind of intrigued. I think it was a good trade. I mean, it's a high reward, low risk type trade for the Blazers. The fit is a little of concern, but we have to remember that Damian Lillard is coming off an Achilles tear. He's not going to be the guy as far as handling the ball right away. You get a ball dominant guard like John Moran, he can take off pressure. Scoot Henderson, people talk about him, but I mean he's probably on his way out. He's kind of been a disappointment with the Blazers so far. And then Drew Holiday, I feel like at this point in his career is probably more of a role player and kind of helps the Blazers more as a role player. So I think John Moran, honestly, if all things considered, with how little they had to give up for him, I think it was a great trade. It's just more about, you never know whether Ja's going to be healthy. You don't know about the off the court issues, and from that standpoint, this could either completely be the move that helps the Blazers take that next step, or it can blow up in their face.
I think it is kind of, you described it as a high risk, or sorry, low risk, high reward situation here. I think that is true because they are obviously a pretty mediocre team that's shown more promise with Denny becoming like a top 25 player in the league or so, top 20 player last season. I think Ja on a new team could be sort of more inspired to prove people wrong, I guess. So I think this will be one of his better seasons. We'll see how the fit is, but in terms of like breakout teams, this team obviously has some good vets in Drew Holiday, um, who obviously now isn't really going to be a starter, but off the bench probably will provide some good defense. But they got Donovan Clingan, and then Damian Lillard's going to be back for the start of the season by now, right? I'm sure he's
Yes.
healthy for October. So obviously, in terms of injuries with some of these players like Ja and Damian Lillard, it could kind of screw them up a little bit. But I think they're going to make. I do agree with you in that this is a potentially rising team. I think they could supplant possibly a team like the Rockets as like a top six next season. I don't think they're going to be, it's possible they could be like better than the Lakers. I don't think they will be, but they'll probably take a small step and make playoffs, maybe win a playoff series. But just with the injuries with this
Mhm.
team, it's like a pretty big concern, probably more so than like a lot of the other teams in the West,
Well, the big concern
in
is
my
they
opinion.
also didn't get back their head coach, who actually went to the Bulls. If we're talking about the Bulls, but they ended up not keeping Thiago Splitter, who after Chauncey Billups got fired, they could have
Yeah.
easily imploded, and they took a step to making the playoffs with all the controversy they have. Micah Nori, I like. He came from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think he helps with the identity that this team has, the way it's constructed. I think he can help Donovan Clingan take the next step, and Shaden Sharp certainly. But I am concerned. I mean, obviously, John Morant was playing in Memphis, and that's not exactly the best place for a player of his hubris, if you may, off the court. Um, I want to see how Micah Nori kind of implements team culture with the Blazers, and I think that could be very, very pivotal as far as, like you said, whether this Blazers team takes that next step or not. and how much so even at that. I mean, Mike Nori, if he's really, really that good of a coach, I mean, this Blazers team could be as high as number two or number three. But more often than not, I would probably expect them to be in that 5 to 6 range if they're not contending for the play-in and they're contending just for the playoffs.
We'll see. I don't know about two, but it's
Well, that's
either the
I'm
Thunder or
just saying like
OKC. Yeah.
if he's like Mitch Johnson last year, then maybe or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he could be a good coach. I don't know too much about him, but I do know that Tiago Splitter, it was a bit surprising that they let go of him because he handled the team pretty well after they lost their coach like 5 games into the season or whatever. But um yeah, definitely a potential rising team. I don't think the West has seen like as much drastic changes as the East, though. The only team that I see significantly slipping from their position last year would be possibly the Rockets
Yeah, I
because
agree.
I think some of their guys aren't developing as much as they should. I think Şengün is kind of like proven he's not as he's like kind of a borderline all-star. He hasn't made that jump to like
Right.
actual like all-star. But and then KD, who's still a really good player this season, but obviously like with his age, etc., and like
The
I'm assuming
locker
he's
room
on the team
concerns.
next year. Yeah, locker room concerns, age, so decline. Like in terms of playoffs, I feel like KD just doesn't care at this point. So I
What do
don't
you
know how this team is a future.
what do you think what do you think about the rumors that Katie is going to sign with or going to get traded to the Pistons? I mean, I think it's a good fit for one next to a sore Thompson, not Amen Thompson. I have to
Mhm.
continue to figure out which one's which at times. But getting a secondary score next to Kate Cunningham, I think helps this team given the fact that, um, I mean, their big issue last year was the fact that Cade Cunningham pretty much was their only way to be able to put points on the board. Um, but of course, the big concern at this point is Katie's locker room's concerns. I think after the all that Katie files stuff that came out earlier in the year, I don't know if any team really wants to touch him with a 10-meter stick. Um, I mean that situation got so untenable. I think it was partially it had a part to play as far as why the Rockets were so unsuccessful come playoff time. Um,
I mean, did
but
KD even play like he played like 1 or 2 games
Yeah,
too,
one or
right?
two games, certainly. But I mean, this team, Rockets team,
Yeah.
if you, I mean, you watch them against the Lakers, they just look off. And at the end of the year, they were
Yeah.
just not the same team that they were early on. So I don't know. It's interesting to look at just team fits, but at this point, I just don't know if Katie's going to really move. I think the Rockets made their trade. They're kind of stuck with them for a couple years, and that's that. Um, but there are some
Yeah.
other moves that we definitely should talk about. One specific move that has probably been the big one of this offseason that we have yet to mention. And that, of course, being Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers. Um, First off, wow, the Philadelphia 76ers went from in 2 years, people not thinking that they are going to be a playoff contender to making a surprise run and upsetting the Boston Celtics to now getting Boston's best player from last year and adding them to their team for pretty much nothing. Paul George and I think it was just a first round pick. That is a steal for a guy who was in the MVP race last year for a good portion of the year and could have easily won it early on in the year. If we're just talking about the first 2 months of the season, Jaylen Brown to this team that includes now Maxi and VJ Edgecombe. They signed Anthony Simmons to their free agent to their bench, which is a great scorer off the bench. They added Dean Wade, a great shooter. Um, they have Joel Embiid, who obviously health is a big concern for him, but when he plays, he's great. I mean, this team is shaping out to be loaded next year. Obviously, their depth is a concern. But then you also talk about the fact that LeBron, maybe he could go there. I mean, this Sixers team, I feel like Philadelphia has taken a step to really go and all in and say, hey, we're going to compete with the likes of the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Eastern Conference, especially more so the Knicks. And I think that they could very much be up for grabbing the Eastern Conference spot next year with the move that they made.
I don't hate that take. I think the Knicks winning the finals has really shaped a lot of this. Like the reason that Jaylen Brown got traded was well, there's obviously a lot of reasons, but it was twofold. It was the Knicks. won the finals, and Boston, I think, was kind of in denial. Like after last year when they got eliminated in second round, they kind of kept most well, they actually traded a fair amount of guys, Porzingis, etc. But they thought that their core duo of Brown Tatum was still better than the Knicks, and that if they just gave it a year, they'd be able to kind of figure things out. And that they still had a good team with that duo. And then Tatum came back from his injury, and obviously they blew the 3-1 lead to the Sixers. And they just kind of, it's pretty clear that they're not going to be competing with the Knicks. Like the Knicks are by far the best team right now in the Eastern Conference. So Boston had to switch things up. But I mean, this trade was from Boston's point of view, this is a terrible trade. Like, I don't know, two first round picks, 2 seconds, and Paul George, who is an aging, what, 36, 37-year-old former
Yeah.
superstar, but now like really just a role player at this point. So I mean, he's probably going to help out, but I could see Boston taking like a major slip. And I don't think I could definitely see this is one. The East, I think this year is very volatile. I don't see a reason why this new Sixers with like Embiid, Maxey, if Edgecombe takes another step, Brown, like on paper, we have an MVP, we have Finals MVP here, we have All NBA Maxey, Edgecombe potentially future All NBA. Like we have, or the Sixers have a huge like their starting lineup is probably the best, could be the best in the East, and I don't see a reason why they can't be like a first seed or a second seed or a third
Right.
seed. No,
For sure.
like
Well, injuries is
yeah,
probably the big concern, especially with Embiid.
that'd be. But even without Embiid, I feel like if Brown fits well, like
Yeah.
because we've seen Embiid out for a lot of last season. I don't know what their record without Embiid is if you want to check it, but I think I remember like they were performing pretty well. I think Maxey is like that like borderline top 10 talent who can kind of lead the team. I think
The
Brown is
Sixers
too.
were 21 and 23 when Embiid did not play.
Okay.
And they were 24 and 14 when Embiid played.
There is a difference then,
Yeah.
but adding Brown could possibly. The only concern I've seen about him is that like why did the Celtics let him go for so little? Like what was there some locker room concerns or was there some deeper like analytical thing? Because his plus minus obviously isn't actually as good as like a lot of people say, even if his or a lot of people think. So there is this theory that maybe although his box stats are very good last season, that his impact sort of is like negative in some way that people
Ye-
don't think about.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, for one, an advocate of that before. I don't, at the same time, I've never been of the advocacy that Jaylen Brown should be traded. At the very least, he's still a valuable 25-point scorer and a great. The he's had a great dynamic duo with Jason Tatum for almost a decade now. So it is still surprising that he leaves. I think the bigger concern was obviously when the whole Giannis situation failed to materialize with the Boston Celtics. We knew it was only a matter of time till Brown got traded. A lot of people thought it was because of, hey, the comments he made earlier in the year that gave the Celtics bad PR, and the fact that now he might be a locker room concern because how does he feel about the Celtics wanting to trade him, right? Especially after having his best year in the Celtics. But the interesting thing that kind of shocked me was when Shams Charania originally reported this trade. He mentioned that the Sixers or the Celtics, never really inquired with Jaylen Brown as to whether he got traded. They just pretty much assumed that he wanted to be traded and they shipped him off. Which, after seeing what Brown said about it, he himself seemed pretty shocked about that nonetheless. Either way, getting two first round picks, and I mean, maybe like I said, with the Giannis trade, maybe it's just a fact that nobody wants to trade as many first round picks nowadays. Whatever. But I think the bigger concern is I look at Boston, the fact that they signed Mitchell Robinson. Knowing Boston, I don't think that this is their last move. They're going to make a move by the end of the offseason. And if they don't, I would really, really be surprised. This is a team that doesn't usually sit on their hands and expect things to happen without actually them going for it. Maybe they make a trade at the deadline. Maybe they just expect Tatum to be that guy instead of Brown. Either way, losing a guy like Jaylen Brown, regardless of how good or bad you think he is, how overrated or underrated you think he is, the fact of the matter is you're not going to get much better than Jaylen Brown unless you're getting someone like Giannis. So I don't understand the need to trade him unless he was quite literally requesting a trade out, which at that point, yeah, the situation's untenable. You trade him. But I mean, this is for the Sixers, this is a home run, home run, home run trade, an A plus plus. Um, I don't know what other way to really put it with this Boston Celtics team, but I just, this is genuinely to me one of the worst trades that they've made in the history of their organization.
Agreed. I think this is the worst trade, obviously, since the Luka fiasco. But yeah, I mean, they're not gonna get much better than Brown. And I think before Giannis was traded, Brown was the obvious piece that you would send to Milwaukee, and then maybe send a little. I mean, I don't know if a straight Brown for Giannis would be fair. Probably Milwaukee would still like
Yeah,
demand a little bit more, but like that would be more of a logical trade for them because Giannis is a more impactful player than Brown, in my opinion. Um,
agreed.
Obviously his fit on Boston is like it probably would be good, but this trade was quite shocking, especially if it is true that Brown wasn't like requesting a trade. Because even before he got traded, there was like the constant rumors, but he hadn't like explicitly made it clear. And the Boston leadership was making it seem like he had not requested a trade and like they weren't probably likely to move him. And then all of a sudden they move him for Paul George and two first round picks. Like it really doesn't make sense. And even if they do go for another move, like they're not going to get anyone significantly. I don't think they're going to get anyone of his level. Like I don't know what they can do at this point. So they could definitely be a team that slips, even though Tatum is still that guy. Like he's probably going to come back next year and be all NBA second or something first. But the team as a whole probably will make playoffs. But like I think they'll have a bit of a slippage year. I'd be surprised if they make a deep playoff run, to be honest. Especially with new
Yeah,
opponents like Knicks and Sixers. Like I don't see how they're getting through any of those teams,
yeah, and I
honestly.
mean this is probably the most loaded the Eastern Conference has been in a while, especially now the
Yeah.
fact that the Raptors got Kawhi back and they're going
Boston will make
all
it.
in, and you got the Knicks, the
Yeah.
Pacers are going to be back. It's just a matter of how good they are going to be. The Sixers take a next step. The you still got the Cavs and the Pistons, who I think are pretty good. Really, what it comes down to Boston is just can their coaching take them to the next level? I was even of the impression that the Hornets were going to be good, and then they made the
Mm.
decision to trade LaMelo, which I think you and I can both agree that was a stupid, stupid trade.
All in on Khan though. He could be that guy. Like
He could, but
he
I mean,
definitely could. Maybe they see something. I do think Minnesota though is one that before that LaMelo trade, I was a bit concerned. Like I thought they would because what they have the DiVincenzo injury, and then for LaMelo they had to just give up Naz Reid, right?
yeah.
That's the only player.
But here's
I
the
think
thing about
they have potential though. Yeah.
the what you said about Con Canepo that's interesting.
Yeah.
Canepo's true shooting percentage dropped by 12 points when LaMelo was not on the floor. So, like
Really?
everyone who's saying like LaMelo was not making the team better, you got to look at the stats. Every single player's true shooting dropped by a significant amount when he was not on the court. Yeah, LaMelo has got his problems. He's not a great defender, whatnot, blah blah blah. But he's still significantly better than Kobe White. And to just trade him like that, it just didn't make sense to me. As far as the Timberwolves, I don't know whether they're going to, be able to contend with the likes of the Thunder and the Spurs. Those guys are miles ahead of everybody else in the Western Conference. But they definitely get closer, and I think if luck is on their side a little bit, they could be favored a little bit. And having LaMelo definitely helps, given the fact that they've lacked a point guard and a running mate for Anthony Edwards. But yeah, I mean, as far as the trades go, though, the other one I was going to mention was or this is technically a free agency move, was the fact as far as LeBron's decision goes. Um, with LeBron James, he mentioned that he's interested in one of six teams. I don't think he's going to go to the Timberwolves. The rumors he might join the Warriors. As a Warriors fan, I'm not really interested in getting LeBron. I don't want to
Really?
really start a senior citizen home out here in the Bay Area. Um,
I don't think we have much of the Warriors have much of a chance either way, though, to be honest. Like
exactly. I mean,
it could just be a fun end to his career.
that's true. But I don't know. I feel like the decision with him is definitely between the Cavs and the Heat. I thought he was going to make that decision a couple days after he released the list, and I still stand on it. The way it looks, the way talks are going, and every rumor I'm hearing, I think that he's probably going to sign with the Miami Heat, given the lack of expectations, being that he's not the best player on the team anymore, but he could still have enough of a legacy to maybe contend for a championship. Keyword maybe contend. Um, but yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting to see. Where do you think, Owen, that LeBron is going to end up?
What about well, I don't know about the cap space on this. What about LeBron to the Celtics if he wants to
Apparently,
compete
they
for a
weren't on
final
his list.
championship?
They
They
weren't
weren't
on
on
his
his
yeah.
list. What was his list? Cavs, Heat, Warriors,
Let me look it up
um,
just to be sure again.
and like LeBron released this list. I thought I saw something where he's open to all teams.
I saw that, but I think that was a little earlier. Hold up, let me see. The six teams that he ended up choosing: the Cavs, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Heat, the Timberwolves, and the Sixers.
Yeah, so you say Heat. I think realistically, Heat is like the most likely option as well. But if I was to contra, because I think he gets a good chance to be on likely a contender, and he's been there before, and he's still loved in Miami. But if not the Heat, I think the Warriors aren't out of it. Though I do think if he was to join the Warriors, which I thought at the start, like when he announced he's not with the Lakers, I thought the Warriors were the most likely option. I
Yeah,
thought he was going to announce it quickly. But the fact that he's kind of stalling makes me think that he hasn't decided on the Warriors, possibly, even though Draymond, because what they re-signed Porzingis as well, which just makes it like a lot. Okay. But yeah, I do think it is more unlikely that he'll sign with the Warriors, obviously due to some of the moves they made with their re-signings. And I think that team for now, um, doesn't have the best future, at least for this season, doesn't have the best outlook. But um, I guess the case I can make the case for a couple other teams would be if he went to Cleveland, the problem is that he'd have to take a massive pay cut, and we just don't know how much he values rings at this point versus money. I think he values rings to an extent. Like he's going to be willing to take a pay cut wherever he goes, but I don't think he's going to sign on like a vet minimum
he said
because
he'd be willing to. That was the
he
report I
said
heard.
he'd be willing to. I
Yeah,
think it's possible, but if he really, really wants to ring, maybe he'll join a team. But at that point, like if he's going to sign the vet minimum and go all the way down on salary, like why wouldn't you want to join a real contender like a Spurs, which obviously isn't on his list? Or which I assume would make the space for him, given that they're not really paying a lot of their best players that much right now because of rookie deals.
right.
But
Yeah.
or a Celtics, and obviously he has a history of kind of not
I
liking
don't
that
know
team,
if
so
I
that's
don't know if
probably
he'd
out of the
want to just
picture.
from the standpoint of legacy, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I feel like if he really wants to win a ring, why wouldn't he just team up with Wemby and be that guy,
From
off the
that
bench,
angle,
a
I'm
six
surprised
man
the
or
Knicks
something?
didn't go after. I'm surprised he didn't go after the Knicks for a move.
That would be the problem with that is like if they lose the title the year that he joins, it's like legacy
Yeah,
wise, that's pretty
true,
damning.
true.
So
Yeah. But I mean, either way, it is going to be interesting to see where LeBron ends up. Personally, the place I would want him to end up, just for the sake of my own fandom, would be the Denver Nuggets. I think he would be a perfect fit with Nikola Jokic. That game would be slow as hell, but the amount of assists that you'd get between the two, the lobs, I mean, that would be really, really fun to watch, in my opinion, especially with the way they could stretch out the floor with guys like Cameron Johnson, etc. Um, I don't know how good the fit would be, but I do think it would be interesting to see Jokic and LeBron on any team. I think that, like I said, the team that probably is the best fit for him right now because he just gets a spot right there in the starting five is probably the Philadelphia 76ers, but it looks like it's definitely going to be one of the Cavs or the Heat. Either way, that would be interesting to see. There is one other move that we have to slightly talk about, and this is just for the sake of this scandal that is attached to it. Of course, one other than Kawhi Leonard, or sorry, excuse me, Kawhi, Mr. I'm a fun guy, Leonard, um, getting traded to the
Yes.
Raptors. As far as the trade goes, I think I'm kind of
I
confused.
before I knew it was gonna get stalled, I did like it for the Raptors. I don't know about you.
Go ahead, go ahead.
You kind of communicated to me that it wasn't gonna be um a positive trade for the Raptors. Were you able to hear me there or no?
Sorry?
My bad. I was just saying you kind of communicated to me that it wasn't a positive trade for the Raptors, but I think honestly this Kawhi trade puts them in instant contender in the East, which they kind of already were, but obviously if we'll see what happens, but you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
I mean, my big concern for the Raptors is this is a team that doesn't have too much depth outside of their maybe top seven players. I felt like they needed to get depth, and they had young players who were kind of filling that role. But the fact that you trade away both Brandon Ingram, who's part of that starting lineup, as well as Grady Dick, who is probably your most promising guy off the bench, it just feels like it didn't make sense given the fact that Kawhi Leonard is an injury riddled 36-year-old player that you're heavily relying on to take you to the next step. Because if it doesn't work out, you're getting rid of a guy who is very young and very promising in Grady Dick. I just think that there were better trades on the table. I think if the Raptors really wanted to go on all in, they could have gone for someone like Giannis. Actually, they would have had a player or two off the books that they could have gotten for Giannis. They could have made a trade for Grady Dick and Jakob Poeltl. Even at that point, if they lose their depth, I would be more fine with that because you're not relying on someone who's injury riddled and you're relying on a guy who far elevates the talent more than anything that Kawhi can do at this point in his career. Um, this Raptors team, for me, because of the way they're structured, I think they've become very short term based, very, very, a lot more than a team like the Heat, where I just think that they have a 1 or 2 year window now, especially with the fact that they don't have a guy, although their head coach might disagree with me and say that Scotty Barnes is the face of the league, but they don't really have a guy who is like another all NBA type player on their team as such. RJ Barrett is a good player, not an all star. Scotty Barnes is a borderline all star, but not anywhere to the likes of even some guy like Alperen Sengun, who you mentioned was a borderline all star, let alone someone to the likes of, the Jaylen Browns and the Jason Tatums of the
Yeah,
world.
I think Scotty Barnes is better than Şengün. But I do agree with you, and like
Ooh, I
he's
disagree with
not.
that.
They're a short-term team, and they're a short-term team. I think Scotty Barnes gets gypped in the awards a little bit. I think he's like one of the best defenders in the league. I don't know
Sure.
why the hell he was like all NBA second. Obviously, the offense, etc., like the athleticism, the defense is insane. I think he's not going to lead like the type of player that can lead them to a championship is the 1A, obviously. But like he's a really, really, really elite, like a borderline, like really elite second option if he was to be like a second best player. And obviously prime Kawhi would have been like they're
Yeah, I mean,
1A,
if this
but
was
yeah,
prime
they're probably
Kawhi,
getting
yeah.
in they probably are gonna get an injured version of Kawhi. I mean, we'll see. But I mean his playing last year was pretty promising, so
I mean, yeah, whenever
I don't
Kawhi
know.
plays, he's great. And I think from that standpoint, the Raptors certainly made an improvement. I think that they will be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, no doubt. I just don't know how far they can go if he's not consistently on the court. And I don't think a 36-year-old Kawhi Leonard is going to help this team when you got guys in the Eastern Conference such as Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, who are in the prime of their career. Even the Celtics have a guy in the prime of his career in Jason Tatum, in spite of having nobody around him, right? I just don't think if you're relying on your superstar to take you to the next step to be a 36-year-old Kawhi Leonard, you already got problems. And from that standpoint, I think that there were just better trades on the market. I don't think this is a worst trade. I just don't like it because I think that they could have definitely, the Raptors especially, with the assets that they have, they could have definitely got a better trade than they did.
Even if they couldn't have gotten Giannis, because I think part of the Miami thing is the free agent, it's the city, it's like that
Yeah.
vibe. So even if the Raptors don't have that advantage, like and if Giannis wasn't gonna come there, they could have made probably better trades. And I don't think they gave up like they gave up Grady Dick, who is a promising guy off the bench, but like and who else they gave up? They gave up Grady Dick and what do you call it? Brandon
We
Ingram.
call
But
him we like to apologize for any children in our audience. We call him Grady Richard over here to be a little bit
oh
more
yeah,
sophisticated. Yeah.
no, his last name's really that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Yeah, a couple first round picks, but yeah, like I guess when you put it when I'm thinking in my mind like a better version of Kawhi, so I'm thinking like yeah, they got a really good player, but now that you do bring up that injury potential is like very real and it's just like the Raptors' performance last postseason, I feel like for playoffs was pretty solid. Like I
Definitely.
thought they could have beat the Cavs. I don't see a reason why they couldn't have they could have beat the Pistons. Obviously
Yeah,
they're not they weren't going to make a run like against the Knicks or anything, not even close. And like they are a contender, but obviously like they're even with Kawhi, even if like prime Kawhi is playing, let's say next year in the playoffs, if he's playing well, like they're it's likely they aren't getting past like a conference finals, right? But like that's still an improvement.
for
But
sure.
yeah, I mean they did send a little bit of their future away, so
I think the other
yeah.
wrinkle in this trade, of course, that we have to talk about is, of course, the aspiration scandal
Yeah.
that could potentially lead to a Kawhi suspension or completely nix this trade as a whole, which could still be end up either being beneficial or I think more likely probably worse because then the Raptors can't make a win now trade. And from that standpoint, that's even worse. I don't think either is going to happen. I think this trade is going to go through. At the end of the day, Adam Silver's Adam Gold as play as a NBA analyst on YouTube so eloquently put it. Um, he's going to do whatever it takes for the holy dollar.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I do think that the fact that this hangs over the head of the Raptors is going to be a distraction that they don't need, especially if there's more and more that comes out that we did not know as the public. And from that standpoint, that could hurt the Raptors' full potential as far as being able to maximize themselves, even in the regular season, let alone be able to find a cohesiveness to get into the postseason.
Yeah, I do think obviously the trade's gonna go through, but the my understanding was the Raptors are the reason that it's not going through, correct? Like they
Yes,
don't want to take on this risk. But Adam Silver I saw recently, like a day ago, came out and said that the investigation has to be wrapped up before the season starts. So I'm sure that's going to happen. And I don't think Kawhi's like we'll see if he gets like convicted or indicted or something, but I think that's likely to happen maybe like in a few years from now, probably not like in between the start of next season, but it is true that like the chemistry and what sort of team events and stuff is he gonna miss? Like, is that really gonna matter though? Because I don't know. I just think the whole thing is not helpful for either team, but like in the end, it's
yeah.
likely, assuming that nothing crazy happens and like Kawhi gets expelled from the league or something, like I don't think it'll be a huge like factor in their play and how the teams do, Clippers and the Raptors do next season.
I agree. Um, And I do think at the end of the day, this is to a degree always blown out of proportion with these types of things. It
Yeah.
was a bombshell report when it first came out, but the fact of the matter is the NBA has not really done anything with these types of scandals for the last decade.
And
So
we've known about this for a while, like the what over
exactly.
it's been over a year or two that like we've known that Kawhi
I mean, if the
possibly
league
had.
was truly taking it seriously, there would have been a suspension by now. The fact that there hasn't kind of shows me that it's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah,
And when it is, I don't think it's going to be really that maximalist. So I really don't think it's going to be too much a concern. It's just you wonder given the fact that this is a 36-year-old and you have all these other concerns for the Raptors, is this a good trade at the end of the day or is this the trade that just takes them to the next step and makes them the contender that they want to be? Obviously, this is not 2019 Kawhi Leonard, so this is not like you're getting the world's best player who can single-handedly put a team on his back. Um, but at the very least, it is an upgrade. So from that standpoint, I think it's still a plus move for the Raptors. Um,
agreed. Yeah,
but I do want to, I think at this point, we should start kind of transitioning into the other part of our discussion today, which is involving the NBA Summer League. A few exciting games that have been going on, and a few players. especially from the Washington Wizards. I'm noticing a lot of them who have been stepping up and really showing promise next year or for the upcoming year as far as what they could potentially be. The Wizards have had a really, really good summer league as far as individual players go. Three of their players are in the top five in scoring in the summer league. Very interesting from that department.
It is worth noting, yeah, I mean, that two of those players were in the NBA last season, but still,
Yeah.
um, is performing exceptional. I would say he's a top two or three guy in the summer league. The one thing I want to point out, transition quickly away from the Wizards players, is Malik Thomas from the Cavs was what pick 34, and I don't want to overemphasize these summer league games because
Yeah.
sometimes superstars have crappy starts and like nobody cares, right? But what he's put up averaging 28. And I don't know like if he had won like crazy game where he had like 35 or 40, and that's like increasing it, but what 50% field goal percentage, so uh low-key pretty good efficiency. The only problem is, I mean, in terms of him, Malik Thomas, I think for a 34th pick, there's not really any issues. I think like you can nitpick certain games, certain players like Peterson. Darren Peterson's performed okay, but he had that one game where he shot um like pretty concerningly low. I think it says 6 for 8 and 9 fouls, so that's not ideal. But um, I think in terms of like the top five picks, in terms of who's winning the summer league, it would be I'd say the Wizards and then the Cavs with their 34th pick, just performing super well. But AJ's performance is like it's worthy of the first pick for sure. He has not been a bust like by any means. The only problem is the 3-point shooting isn't like the best, but we kind of
Yeah.
knew that before.
As far as Malik Thomas goes, the reason why I'm intrigued by him is, I mean, he's been consistent. I'm looking at his stats. He had 30, he had 18 points per game in his second game, and I'm looking for his third game. I can't seem to find it, but whatever. Um, the interesting thing though I think about Malik Thomas is he's on the Cavs who have a very, very platoon-ish bench. I mean, analytically, it should have won the championship last year, but who cares? Um, but as far as their depth goes, the Cavaliers have room for these kind of like platoon type scorers who show up out of nowhere. They got guys like Sam Merrill and Jaylen Tyson off the bench, who I think um, can step up at a given moment. They got Tyrese Proctor too in the draft. But for the most part, their bench has kind of been depleted from years past. Dennis Schroeder is really the only key name on their bench other than Sam Merrill, maybe. Um, I think Malik Thomas, if this is how well he's playing the summer league, he could make Carver roll out of himself as far as being able to be part of that rotation for the Cavaliers if he's able to continue that through preseason and whatnot. So he's definitely a name to look out for the Cavs, especially if they want to contend for a championship and take the next step when their bench is not so good as it has been in years past. So from that standpoint, I mean, analytically, Malik Thomas should probably be the best player next year, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see if he can analytically lead the Cavs to a championship. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was not on anyone's radar. I mean, some people's radar, but obviously not my radar. Is there
Yeah.
anyone in like a top high pick or just anyone in the draft really that's like really disappointed though? Because I only think of true disappointment would maybe be like Darius Acuff Jr. kind of had a pretty shitty opening game, like a lot of turnovers, bad efficiency. That's the only one that really comes to mind for me. But yeah.
I mean, he
But
hasn't been
again,
too
one game it's
disappoint.
like it's not did he unless he had perhaps another game that I didn't see.
I mean, he hasn't been too disappointing. I just expected him to be a little bit more. I would say Cameron Boozer. I thought Cameron
Really?
Boozer was going to be like 25 points solid in the summer league. So from that standpoint, it's kind of disappointing to see that he wasn't higher. Even Darius Acuff, for that matter, I thought he was going to be a little higher as far as kind of the stats that he had. I don't think it's too much of a concern. It could just very much be that I mean, both players are on very limited minutes. I'm looking at it. Darius Acuff is only playing what? Where did he go? Yeah, I mean he's playing. 26 minutes a game. Cameron Boozer is playing 26 minutes a game. I mean,
The only problem is his efficiency, like shot selection. Because I
right,
am looking here, it's like he's never getting to 50% field goal percentage like in a single game. And some of these are bad, like pretty bad, like 4 for 14,
right.
6 of. So that's even if he's not getting as much usage, like the efficiency definitely should be is possibly a concern.
For sure. There is one other player though. I do want to make a mention of him real quick. A guy who I think I was saying this earlier last year. I was hoping that the Warriors drafted him. At the time, it looked like they were probably going to get somewhere from that 15 to 20 range. I'm happy that we got Yaxel, but I do think this is a player that we definitely should at least keep our eye on. A second round pick for the Charlotte Hornets. Keep an eye, or I think, yeah. Um, Hold up. Let me look this real quick. Let me just double check.
But hey, are you saying Steinbach or
Yeah, sorry, he was a first round. He was
someone else?
29th pick. But
Never
keep an
mind.
eye on Liam McNeely. 52% three-point shooting early in this offseason. I genuinely think that Liam McNeely could end up carving a role as a true spot-up shooter, the likes of someone like Kyle Korver used to do back in the day. Will he end up being Kyle Korver as good as efficient as Kyle Korver? Probably not. We'll see. Who knows? Um, but certainly, I do think that Liam McNeely is exactly what the Hornets need as far as another player on their bench shooting wise. This team loves to shoot, nonetheless. So um, I would really say, yeah, keep an eye on Liam McNeely, and then the Wizards players, Will Riley and Trey Johnson. Keep an eye on them. I'm interested in seeing if they're dominant in the summer league. I want to see how they kind of potentially break out, or if you may take their next step in development come regular season time. Those are the players I feel like I've been most interested in this summer league. What about you, Owen?
Yeah, Liam McNeely's done pretty well in terms of scoring, averaging like well over 20, it seems like. But um I would say I'm the most excited about um probably Malik Thomas as potentially another off the bench scorer for Cleveland. And I think Darren Peterson has kind of proven himself. Interestingly, I don't know how Caleb Wilson's been doing because
Caleb
I didn't
Wilson's
really
been playing
see
well at 24 points
them
per
playing
game,
well.
averaging 48% from the three. Um, and he's been averaging 7 rebounds a game, about 2 assists per game. The big concern with him is the turnovers, and I think I said this before the
Yeah,
draft. I think that is going to be a big concern about him. He's not exactly the best ball handler, and from that
yeah,
standpoint, that could be a big concern, especially if that's how he's playing in the summer league. Um, Come regular season time, how quickly he's able to adjust to the game. That's something I would definitely want to see.
for sure. I think his efficiency is pretty good though. I mean, he's an elite scorer, but I kind of did say that I thought Cam Boozer last episode was going to be like the one that might overperform or the rookie that we don't expect that is a little better than expected. But obviously from the summer league, yeah, he's been still getting the rebounds and stuff, but the scoring isn't quite there as much and not as many assists either, like what, 3 assists a game. So I feel like Caleb Wilson though is in a good position where with the Bulls to potentially make a run for rookie of the year, even though I think it's going to be an uphill battle to like outscore someone like an AJ DeBonsa, who I'm assuming Washington is going to use kind of as their primary like you think they're going to use him as like the first option. And the only problem is that team could be so crowded with Trey Young and like AD if they're playing. But I
Right.
feel like
And Young is a very ball dominant player too.
yeah,
I mean,
specifically
Gabanza can
Young
play
because I don't
off
know
the
about
ball, so I think they'll be
yeah,
fine if he just kind of develops alongside it. Plus, Young and Davis have their own injury concerns, so he'll be the most consistently on the court player. And I
for
think
sure.
wherever the Wizards end up, I don't think they're going to be expecting too much out of Debonsa other than him to just play well early on, not to, go overly and lead this team to the playoffs or anything. Just play well rookie year, show that you are worth being the rookie of the year, and from there go and see what happens. But
Yeah.
I think AJ DeBonsa so far has lived up to all the expectations, other than the 3-point thing, which is kind of concerning for my end. Um, yeah.
Agreed. The athleticism is just so elite it could, and he obviously will improve on it over. But yeah, I mean the 3 point is definitely could be like a major concern if teams just leave him open there or something. But I think he's in a good shot to win Rookie of the Year, honestly, if he gets like really, really high usage, unless Peterson like proves to be um if Peterson just proves to be like a more efficient player, like it's possible. I think it'll be another close rookie class because this is another stacked class. There's not going to be
Yeah,
like
for
one
sure.
clear. Like last year we had Flag and then Knuppel and then Edgecombe not far behind. So we'll see. It's probably going to be between Wilson, DeBonsa, and Peterson, unless
The
one of
way that
them.
it's
It's
playing out in the summer league, yeah, I would imagine. I still think Boozer is my guy to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to be the most consistent, but we will see.
true.
I think one other player I'm very interested in getting your opinion on is Michael Brown. Both
Uh-huh.
Nets guards have interested me. Igor Denham has played pretty well so far this year in the summer league. I like Igor Denham. I think that he's a good playmaker, which is exactly what the Nets wanted when they drafted him. He actually kind of exceeded my expectations of him year one. Um, Mikal Brown was not as high on, especially with the injury concerns, but and he has kind of disappointed as far as what I thought he might do in the summer league. But either way, I'm still interested in seeing how the fit goes with this team. He's a great shooter, and I think he could pair well with the Nets. But I do want to know what their ceiling is with between having Yegor Denham and Michael Brown. What do you think about that?
I think Yegor Demon is they're in a rough spot, but I mean, let me look at Brown's stats. Like yeah, he's kind of a pretty efficient player, but um, I don't know. I mean, in terms of like impacting the Nets in a big way, the problem is like he's not going to have as much usage or as many opportunities when they've got guys like um Jaeger Demon and what do you call it? I'm blanking on his name right now.
Michael Brown?
Michael Porter Jr.
Oh,
as
oh.
well on the team. Yeah, yeah, as like their main I guess best player.
Well, do you
But
think that Michael Brown should maybe then play off the ball? I feel like he would be decent at off the ball. I just think it might hinder his development a little.
yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like he's not gonna have the opportunities on the Nets to develop as well. And they have Julius Randle now too. But
Yeah.
um he's not gonna have the opportunities for development as much as like it might even be like a Dylan Harper type of situation where he's really, really good, but like he doesn't have as many opportunities as other like rookies in that year. But I mean, do you think the Nets have like a future this year? I think they're still pretty much
Definitely
in the
not.
rebuild.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they're in a long-term rebuild.
Yeah. They
So
have good pieces though. Like
for sure,
Jaeger is
yes.
promising. I don't
I
know.
I mean, I said this last year, but I was really excited about their draft class. I thought they had by far the best draft class. I mean, they obviously had four first round picks um,
Mhm.
in 2025, and I felt like they nailed all of them. Actually, they had five now that I'm thinking of. They nail all five of them. Yegor Denham was, in my opinion, the worst of the five picks, and that wasn't even bad. I still had a B plus grade on that draft. Then you look at Nolan Traore, who was high on, and I thought that was a steal. Danny Wolf, Drake Powell, Ben Suraf. I mean, these guys have a lot of intriguing pieces that have a lot of potential. So, worst comes to worst, I mean, this team in a few years is going to be a play-in team, and with the capital that they have to be able to go and sign a big free agency or two, make a big trade here and there with all the picks that they have, and then being able to get a few guys. I've been kind of disappointed with some of the players that they've drafted, but they got loads of picks. I'm sure that they're going to get a first overall pick at some point, or at the very least, a superstar. I really think this Nets team is promising come 2030.
Yeah, that's a fair take. Not really a lot we can say about it, and obviously they have their best player right now still is obviously gonna be Michael Porter Jr., but I feel like they're in a he's in a position where he's like a borderline could snag like an all-star if he plays really well or if they get
Yeah.
like a slightly higher seed, but um yeah, I think they have a young promising team. But in terms of this draft, like I don't obviously 2025 is like that was their draft to get their pieces because this draft they didn't do have as much of an opportunity.
Well, think of it this way. When they finally contend, they will be drafting with the first overall pick, probably my roommate's cousin. That is how long their rebuild is going to be. And my roommate's cousin was like 5 years old right now,
Yeah.
for reference. But hey, I mean, hey, TJ, if you're watching this, remember tell your two nephews, you know, Brooklyn, it's a pretty good place to live, and they'll be good. But either way, I'm joking.
I
But
thought you were gonna say they were gonna draft your roommate's cousin. I was like, yeah.
yeah, but like I said, like you said, I mean, there's not much you can really say about what the Nets' future is outside of the next couple years, and they're going to be rebuilding for a while, so it is what it is. But it is interesting to see what the Nets are going to do, and their summer league intrigues me. So we'll see about the Nets. But I think as far as this episode goes, that will be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We had fun recording this episode, and we got a fun series ahead of episodes for you guys. So stay tuned. We got a lot more content for you coming this summer and upcoming into the next NBA year. I speak for myself when I say I enjoyed this episode. I know you did too, Owen. Any final thoughts?
Yep. Um, Thanks for watching, and we'll be back at it in a week, right? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
All right, man.
Stay tuned.
It was nice
See you, man.
talking. Peace.
Nice talking. See you.